Okay, let me ask you, what's your preferred title? Or other than Liam? I know Liam is probably, just call me Liam.
Lord.
Right? Lord. All right.
There is no need to use that. Liam is fine. It's my name.
Okay. Because I'm sure people, when they interact with you, they call you the most Grand Line dude.
Grand Line Review,
New.
GLR. No one calls me New.
GLR.
Please don't do that.
What's up, New? We're here. I'm here with Liam to talk about One Piece Chapter 1048. How goes it, Liam?
It goes really well, I think, on this fine Australian morning.
Morning for Liam, nighttime for me. So, completely different aesthetics going on here. But either way, we're here to talk about One Piece Chapter 1048, 20 years. I guess quickly before we begin, for the recent string of chapters, what has been your favorite one?
Oh, what a... I would say it was the one with Giant Luffy, I think. 100%.
The one with Giant Luffy,
which I think
that was my favorite panel by far.
Yeah, it looks so cool. I think it was it 1045? Yeah, it was.
I believe it was 1045.
That was difficult.
It was
to
like
top.
It's an amazing panel, especially considering everything we already know and the hints leading up to Giant Luffy. You've had all these giant things about Luffy: fist, foot, face. Now we have
the triple F's, yes.
Right? Just everything. This is amazing, but no, so you said that was your favorite, right?
Yes.
Which chapter do you think was the best?
The best one was probably the one right before it, 1044, where
1044.
Yes, where the reveal actually happened.
Yeah,
I don't think I've ever felt more excited reading 18 pages of a black and white comic than I did that week. So maybe it's extreme emotional bias, but I think that one was the best because it affected me the most.
Yeah, I think those last couple chapters, and I don't know, I don't think there's ever been, well, the last time I felt that it was more unexpected, I think, with 957. Like 956 was great as well, right? With the Warlord stuff and the build up. But 957, when we just got, it's like, wait, what? Right?
Out of nowhere.
I think as well, out of nowhere. Yeah. Out of nowhere. At least with 1010, I think, was another chapter with Zoro and Asura.
Just for anyone who's not as obsessed with numbers as we are, 957 was when all of the Emperor bounties were revealed, and Roger and Whitebeard. So that was an ultimate asteroid in the fan base.
It was insane, right? That was out of nowhere. 1010 did, Roof Piece in general has made me feel that. And I guess let me ask you real quick, your thoughts on the episode.
Oh, the episode.
The episode. Do you know the episode?
I know the episode. I loved the episode. I love anything Megumi Ishitani does. It was...
Ishitani, GOAT.
It made me so happy, but then it also made me so sad that the rest of the anime wasn't like that.
Yeah, it's bittersweet.
Yes,
right?
Very bittersweet.
Where I'm watching it and I think the added touch of Ace and Yamato, man, so well done, right? I don't think I've ever seen a better demonstration, illustration of someone realizing another's dream, right? Or another's beliefs like Yamato did. It was like how it was done and how she was blown away by the conviction or just the fire of Ace. It was like, it's like you felt it,
Yes.
It was done in a way in which you felt it yourself and you were blown away as well.
And there was that amazing, like, dual pastel colored integrated flashbacks that Yamato was just watching. And these are all of these little connections that we who talk about One Piece have put together, but we've never seen together on screen. It was really euphoric.
At the same time. seeing Luffy and Roger.
Yes.
That felt different, right? It was like, man. And coming off of like the conversation with Yamato and Ace talking about, hey, I wish we'd have a drink, with this guy, and then seeing Luffy and Roger and how they're so similar but different at the same time. It's like, man, this is fantastic. I did say one of the best episodes ever in One Piece. I did ask people to give me their favorite episodes when I did a breakdown of it. A lot of people chose I Want to Live.
Okay.
And
it's understandable, I think.
Nothing happened.
Oh, yes.
What is your favorite anime episode of all time?
Of One Piece? This is pure nostalgia, but I think it is 126, which was when Luffy beats Crocodile. I think.
Wow.
That is
a throwback.
It made a big impact on me when I was like first watching it in mid-high school. And it was the moment that really solidified me as, I think, a lifelong One Piece lover. It was just a perfect moment.
I can see that. Yeah, that's a big one.
It's definitely not technically the best, I would say, but
it's like your favorite.
It's the one that has a special place in the old heart, whichever side of my chest that's on. I always forget. Left.
No, I get it. I think for me that one is Baratier.
Okay.
Baratier.
Which
I think that arc
specifically.
Well, the Zoro. Zoro makes his his pledge. But I think that entire arc, watching it, was the one that was like, I'm in it now. I'm here, right? Just Sanji, the doubt, how Luffy convinced him, but then there was more doubt. Zoro, Mihawk,
Krieg.
It was like, Krieg is amazing, by the way.
Yeah.
Like, I love Don Krieg, man. And Gin, right? It's like so many characters there. And the funny part about it is, initially, when I was watching the arc, I thought, or I was like, is Patty gonna join? Right? Like, Patty was somebody that was like, oh man, like, he's fucking funny, he's big. Then it was like, oh, hold on. This Sanji guy. I think, like, I like this guy. But it was just so much doubt with Sanji, right? It was just like, But then typically it was like, all right, the people that, they're doubting it so much, those ones that come along on the journey.
I will say that
after the Gin thing, after the Gin thing, that's when, like, all right, come on. Like, he's here. He's with us.
I will say that I never had any doubt Sanji was joining, if only because he was in the opening.
I think back then when I was starting anime, I didn't watch openings.
I think that's a good way to go, especially with One Piece, because they do give away a lot of story elements.
Right.
They also gave away that Robin joined the crew long before she joined the crew in the opening, which is a pretty big one.
I don't think I knew that. Didn't know that.
That was for the best.
Didn't know that.
Halfway through the Operation Utopia on Alabasta, the anime switched openings to what should have been the next one, and Robin was part of the crew, like, while she was still an enemy. See. So it was a pretty big spoiler.
Arc, because I don't remember, because I didn't watch the openings like that. Bon Voyage. What do you remember?
Skypiea.
I don't know if you remember.
Bon Voyage.
Yeah. That might be one of my favorite openings. Not my favorite. I don't know.
Wow.
Quickly, what's your favorite opening?
One Day, which is the one where Luffy is running to Ace at Marineford.
One Day. Oh, yeah, that's a tough one.
That or potentially Fight Together, which I think comes immediately after.
Fight Together. Yeah.
It's like,
I love Fight
It's
Together
very bittersweet and sad, but empowering. And,
Liam, why are you doing this to me? Why are you doing this to me, man? Because it's playing in my head now and the visuals are there. Okay, all right. Let's get to some happy stuff. I'm not sure if this is happy, but the cover story. We see our boy Cracker. We haven't seen Cracker in how long? Because he missed the entirety of Whole Cake after that, right? We hadn't seen him since, and now he is back. Let me ask you, those look like bandages, right? He still has bandages on.
Yeah, he still looks very wounded.
Okay. You can help me clear this up. This is immediately following Whole Cake Island.
It would seem that way.
It would seem
because,
right.
like, the chateau is
or
still
after
collapsed.
Big Mom left, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah, I would assume, yes.
So after Big Mom left, Big Mom is not here, right? So she's already left on the way to Wano with her crew that's in Wano but not in Wano. Digress. And now we have Cracker, should be one of the bigwigs on the island now with Katakuri. And so Brûlé, based on what it's saying here, it seems like she's thinking the intruders are either Ichiji and Reiju, but somebody did have a different perspective saying that she wants to capture them as well. What do you think about the cover story?
To me, it feels like Brûlé is assuming that it's Ichiji and Reiju,
right?
But doesn't necessarily know, especially because she's not looking at the mirror. She's like, these people are probably back again.
It must be them, right? Because if they just get word, it's two people showing up, it's like obviously it's the other two siblings, right?
Probably, yeah.
Is this a misdirection?
It feels like a red herring to me.
Yes.
Just because I don't know why you would go to all of the trouble to craft those mysterious silhouettes just to have them very casually revealed.
Yeah. That one seems obvious. Like, because that was my first thought. I was like, obviously the two siblings are going to show up to kind of save, their other siblings. But then like, wait, Ichiji shouldn't really care that much.
Yeah.
But
at all.
He shouldn't really care. But, who are you hoping or not hoping? If you had a choice, who would you like for it to be?
If it was just pure who I would like it to be, it's going to be members of the Blackbeard Pirates, just for the global intrigue that would accompany it.
Yeah, I've been seeing that as well. That's what I'm hoping for it to be, because if Blackbeard is there, there's so many implications here. I'd be a bit sad because that means Katakuri would lose again, right? Because he's not beating Blackbeard and whomever's with him. I have been seeing some more people saying that it could be Croco Boy and Daz Bones.
Okay.
I thought that would be intriguing as well, right? The only thing it has to be, I think the more underwhelming thing is if it was Reiju and Ichiji, because it's like a lot of build up for like just for them.
It makes perfect sense, but it's like
it makes sense for it to be them, right? Like it's like if it is Blackbeard and someone else, this is the best cover story ever, because this is gonna make waves.
Well, the most impactful at the very least, yeah.
For sure. But yeah, it was good seeing Cracker again. I know who I'm waiting for. I'm waiting to see my boy Katakuri again.
You're not alone.
It's inevitable though, right? Like after seeing Cracker, there's no way we don't see Katakuri in this cover story, right? It has to happen.
I wouldn't say it has to, but I want it to have to happen, yes.
Come on. Like, if Oda does not show Katakuri, come on. All right. Now to the chapter.
Yeah.
Luffy, the fist is still there. So some fisting
very
happening.
Prominent.
Big fist. And he's telling Momonosuke to move Onigashima out of the way. And we get some flashback stuff. And Momonosuke then seems to ram himself into the island. Thoughts on that opening scene?
Yeah, great opening scene. Establishes the drama, establishes how utterly powerless Momonosuke is, and that something big needs to happen very soon.
Right.
Otherwise, even if Kaido is taken down, Onigashima goes down with him, and everyone dies. Except Luffy.
And it's done for.
Except he might still die, yeah.
If everyone dies, that's funny. We'll talk about that. We then transition to Kaido, and Kaido being Kaido does his antagonistic thing, right? Very well. He decides to just take the attack, right? He sees the big fist. He's like, okay, whatever, dude. He's like, it's so Kaido, right?
Yeah.
Where he sees it and it's almost like, foolish kid. All right, I'll take your attack head on. And then he proceeds to antagonize him and talks about Odin. And so I want to ask you, this flaming dragon form thing.
Yes.
What do you think this is? Do you think this is his awakening or just another form of Kaido just being awesome?
I don't. It's such a specific thing that I'm not sure if it's an awakening. I think that this is just Kaido being awesome and gloating. Essentially saying,
yes,
your hero burned to death. Look at me, I'm on fire. I'm the better one.
Right. I did notice that as well. It's like he could be just being as antagonistic as possible. Hey, your hero burned to death.
He's really rubbing the despair in at this point, I think.
Yes. And I appreciate this side of Kaido. It makes him who he is. I did like the fact that Luffy, he was so hot he couldn't touch him.
Yes.
Right? And of course,
very important.
In this form, Luffy is emanating haki, like Kaido said. He's using all these different things and he still cannot touch Kaido. Which then leads to Luffy talking about some haki stuff, right? Talking about what Hiro taught him, Rio.
Yep. And the exact same flashback that the anime episode used, I would say. Yes.
Right. Same exact thing.
Yeah.
Let me ask you though, when you think of haki, when you think of Rio, when you think about what Luffy's doing, how do you explain what's happening in regards to Rio, in regards to imbuing haki, in regards to advanced conquerors haki, in regards to the mission? Try to explain it for us.
To explain?
Luffy.
Okay.
Yes.
Fist. Imbuement.
Yes.
Fist is coded in haki. Advanced armament haki. Projecting that haki further. So if punch goes like that, projection goes with it. It's like creating a bigger fist, essentially, except you don't. Yes, what would you like to ask?
I was going to ask you, how does advanced conquerors haki play into this?
Okay. Fist. Except not that, because I don't think we have Conqueror's imbuement, but it's essentially projecting Conqueror's haki, learning how to channel it and use it as a force is my understanding of it. Okay,
so how I'm looking at it, I'm assuming that he is just stacking, right? He's stacking all these different abilities on top of one another, just stacking. So obviously fist, right? Then imbuement, Rio, and he's putting Conqueror's haki on top of that, which
so like coding haki with haki.
Right. So the thing is, the advanced Conqueror's haki, it's never really been explained to do internal damage, right? It seems like it's an amplifier more than anything.
Looks like it hurts.
Right, looks like it hurts, right? It's an amplifier to make it hurt more. But the real damage comes from the Rio that they learn, which is it's a weird thing, right? Because the jump that Luffy made to be able to contest Kaido came when he learned advanced Conqueror's coding, right? That's when it seemed like him and Kaido were on the same level, I think. But it seems like Rio is what he's going to knock Kaido out. I don't know. How do you look at that in regards to like the jump is from advanced Conqueror's haki, but Rio is what he's going to, saying, "Hey, this is what I need."
Yeah, I think this gets difficult because haki in One Piece is an almost frustratingly vague power system, especially when you get to a place like Wano, where Rio, to the best of my knowledge, is essentially just their version of advanced armament, potentially conflated with basic armament as well. It's just their spiritual terminology for that. Yeah. If that makes sense, I suppose.
Yes. It's and then people talk about it's called Rio and Wano, but then it's haki, but it's the same thing when it's not really, but it kind of is. Like you said, it's completely vague. Not completely vague. It's really vague, but I thought that was really interesting that how Luffy is stacking all these different things and what he's going to. And a part of me is thinking, okay, is Oda using this to make the training more like relevant again?
Yes, 100%. This flashback right here is why we had to do the entirety of Act 2.
Yeah, where it's like, I don't want to make it seem like Luffy doesn't need this thing because he has advanced Conqueror's haki coding now. Like, he still needs this. This is absolutely still necessary. Yeah. We did not go to Udon and all that for no reason, I promise. So I think that's part of it. Luffy using that attack, people are saying this confirms he is a mythical god or monkey god thing. How did you feel about that?
Haven't heard people say that.
Yeah.
I understand that, though, because that is the thing, isn't it? You've got the, like, is it the palm, or is it a fist that comes from the sky that is that ultimate attack? Yeah. The symbology is definitely there. It's definitely a nice touch, because, you know, Luffy has always been kind of in line with the whole Sun Wukong thing. Right.
We've been waiting for it. So this hint, at least, is like, it's good to see that. Not gonna lie. Now, as we transition, we get flashback stuff, where there's a lot of flashback, but it's flashback with more perspective, showing just how scummy Orochi is for the most part, which he is very scummy.
Just a little
bit. But Kaido equally so. But it's just giving you a different angle of after Oden died, the Scabbards left, and Orochi, the things that he said and the things that he was trying to make happen. How do you feel about Orochi?
I'm pretty happy, but because of something that we haven't gotten to yet. Orochi, he's a good villain, I suppose. He's wonderfully dislikable. What I really liked about this flashback was that it showed that abridged story of how Wano got to how it is today across 20 years from the Orochi style perspective. So it was very effective in making me hate him to the maximum amount right before that moment of satisfaction happened, I would say.
Right. It was a perspective with a recap, right? Just, hey, this is what happened from Orochi's perspective. This is why you should hate him. This is why he's a piece of shit. And this is why you're going to enjoy whomever is showing up, right?
Yeah. And not only that, but it also goes to it, because there's nothing in these pages that we don't know. There is no new information. It's just there for raw emotion, which I think really helps towards the end of the chapter, when we really need to feel for the people of Wano. Having seen them going through all of this, it becomes fresher in our minds.
Yeah, and that for me is the difficult thing, where because it's week to week with breaks, right? Maintaining that level of interest, even for the Wano citizens sometimes.
Yeah.
Where we have seen that time and time again. So the thing that did impact me was, like you said, the message going up. And I think even before this chapter, when they were talking amongst themselves, they're still partying, but they're like, yeah, let's just go as hard as we can, because
tomorrow we could die. Yeah,
we could die. You know, that I feel like that was a part. It was like, man, that's tough. That's a lot to deal with, you know. And this chapter enhances that moment for me. But then we get a quick scuffle, you want to say, between the daimyo. And, Kaido.
Ushimaru, Yasu, and the others, yes.
Is this the first time you've seen Ushimaru as clear?
I think so. Clear, because he's not bandaged or anything. It's just flat raw face. There's almost no shading on his face either as well. It's very clear, yeah.
None. Very clear. We see Ushimaru. I believe Oda's confirmed that it's not Zoro's dad. So we can stop saying that now. He is related to Zoro in some way, obviously. There's some relation there.
There is some aesthetic similarities, yes.
Come on, it's right there. But it made it seem, well, which we pretty much figured, that they had no chance against Kaido. And Orochi, again, it makes you hate him so much because he's just there in the background, just enjoying it. And something that they talked about early was how, even early in Wano, it wasn't just about Orochi. We're not scared of Orochi, really. We're scared of Kaido.
Yeah, we are not scared of Orochi.
Fuck Orochi for the most part. But, you know, like you said, it does bring about and show the demise of Wano, just how quickly after Kaido and after Orochi, what they did to bring the country to ruin, where the factories and how they just completely contaminated the water, and just how despair came along. And something subtle that Oda did put in the channel was like a noose in the chapter.
There were two, actually. I think it was the same one, but there was like a wide shot with this very visible noose there, and then there was even a close-up later on.
Another close-up.
Make sure you've seen the noose. Yeah. Look at this.
I want you to see.
Yeah.
This is what's happening to the people of Wano now, because this is how bad it is, right? People would rather die, and this reminds me of early in Wano when we saw that woman with her baby.
Yeah, we're about to stab her. That wasn't in the anime. Her baby.
Yeah. And it's building that, and just how he's going about with the smile fruits and the work and the labor. It's like, man, could you be any more terrible? Then we go to Orochi and especially Komurasaki, Hiyori, and then Mr. Missing in Action makes an appearance.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts? Where you think he went to the bathroom? Where do you think he was?
I don't know, because the last time we saw him was about a year ago, possibly more, and it was that chapter where he and Kinemon sliced off most of Orochi's head. And then I believe Denjiro said, no, we've got more important things to do. And so to see him popping up again to take out Orochi, it makes me just question what those more important things were.
It makes it seem like Denjiro was just waiting, right? He was just waiting for something bad to happen to Yuri, to just come down like a knight in shining armor and just finally cut Orochi down. But I do think we get an explanation as to where he's been, things he's been putting in place.
I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. It's just a strange juxtaposition of how we've seen him. Yeah,
he's always been one of the more competent scabbards, so I don't want to make it seem like he was just fucking off, like just walking around.
It was an absolutely glorious panel though, with Orochi's head being sliced off. Very
It is.
It took me back to when he cut Komurasaki, actually. It has that like level of cleanness to it.
That's why it had to be him, right?
Yeah. In retrospect, it always had to be him.
It always had to be him. Because imagine he had to do this, protect Komurasaki from Orochi while being right under his nose, right? And so he went as far as to, hey, carry blood with you at all times so that if anything has to happen, we can do this. So it's always been him. So him going after and saving her, it's fitting. Now, the big question is our boy dead?
I hope so. Theoretically, this is his last head. I think it is a perfect moment to die, a perfect person to kill him. I have my reservations because it is One Piece, but I sincerely hope that this is the end of Orochi.
I don't think it is.
That's a fair enough belief.
I don't think it is. I'm with you, and I've been hoping that for a long time now. I was hoping that when Kaido cut his head off, right? I was hoping that when the Scabbards cut his heads off. But it's like...
This time it's the last
done.
one.
Yeah, I always felt like it wasn't time. And even this time, still doesn't feel like it. It still feels like there needs to be somewhat of a conversation of sorts. You know what I mean? Where it's like, hey, this person went through these things. We don't want to do the exact same thing to him because it continues a cycle of hatred. We are going to punish him, imprison him, or something like that. But I don't think they kill him.
I get what you mean. Just, that is, the One Piece thing is never to kill the villains. Not so much because of valuing the villain's life, but it's more about valuing the purity of the protagonist and not like dirtying them with that kind of act. Right. And then I think essentially with what's happening in Wano, Orochi, whatever his dreams are completely crushed. So he is, everything for him is over. So that would coincide with Oda feeling like, okay, he's gotten everything that was coming to him. However, for the fans, we believe that Orochi needs to die a very horrible death. Personally, I do not think just cutting his head off is enough. He is also on fire.
He's on fire as well.
In stark contrast to Kaido, by the way. who is also on fire, but taking it like a champ.
Right. And I remember that time. It was a chapter after, I think after Odin died, where Orochi was in the hot tub.
Yeah, because he was too cold. He was freezing. He was
freezing, right?
Warm, yeah.
But this reminds me. Have you seen Game of Thrones?
I have indeed seen Game of Thrones.
It's crazy how that's a good and a bad thing. So, oh man, spoiler alert for Game of Thrones, I guess. Death.
Oh, so I actually haven't watched the final season. Not that I care if you spoil it.
I'm not going to spoil it then.
I don't know if I will.
It?
Because I watched the first couple of episodes of the final season and just didn't like it.
Oh no.
So I didn't want to go through that pain.
I went through, the thing is though, when I watched it, I went through the pain with others. So, I could, at least we could talk about it, have focus groups. So I did that, and that wasn't too bad.
Therapy session.
It was a bad final season.
Yes. Even from what I saw, it was just... It made me stop watching from a show that I absolutely adored to just making me just flat out cut it off. It was pretty astonishingly bad.
Yeah. It was one of those that it was not satisfying or fulfilling in the slightest. It felt cheap, rushed, like, okay. The character motivations did not matter towards the end. But yeah, this, once you see it, maybe if you ever see it, this death makes me feel like that, where it's not as satisfying. Okay. So that's why I don't feel like that is it. I guess we can talk about the last panel now.
I was going to say though, the most satisfying part of it isn't so much like seeing Orochi's head getting cut off. It's the panels below it where you see the lanterns floating up with the wish that Denjiro has
That's really good.
Granted. Yeah, that's what really hit home for me. I think
it now we're here talking about it. It does have some feeling. It gives you the feeling of okay, because even in the panel, it's almost just like it's jubilation, right? They're throwing it up, and they don't even know that they're celebrating something that's already happened.
Like the first of all of their wishes to be granted, and then seeing the rest of them fly up there. It's so good. I loved this chapter.
It is good. I think with perspective, this chapter is better than I initially thought. Yeah. Because initially upon the read, it's like, it's recap. Right, it's a recap.
When you're going through a One Piece chapter at the action climax, you never really want to see those black pages of flashback pop up. Right. But having conversations and talking to people was like things that were important to them. It does make the chapter more impactful. More impactful in regards to everything that's happening right now. The final panel, it looks like it's a power struggle that's happening. Something that I'm wondering, I can ask you this. Yes.
Do we go into flashback after this chapter?
Don't know. Everything that this isn't my brain talking, this is my feeling talking. Everything that I'm feeling right now tells me that this is the last bit of setup, and then bam, it's over. Yeah. That's what I'm feeling, because there's just so many cues that happen, like right before the big bag. Yes, the big bad. Right before the big bad is defeated, this takes me back to almost every, big arc where we've had a villain toppled. However, I desperately want that Kaido flashback if possible.
I think we need it. Kaido, to me, right now is a puzzle, right? And I love the puzzle pieces, how they're coming together, but I still feel like I'm missing things.
Yes,
important things as to why he is the way he is. And I feel like I'm on the cusp of absolutely adoring him.
Yes,
I just need to know more, right? It's just like, I like this guy, but why? Why? Tell me the reasoning. because Oda's been sprinkling it in, like the Joy Boy stuff, him choosing Wano. Mm-hmm. It always comes off as if I did this for a reason. You don't know why, but I know why.
Yeah.
You're ignorant.
He feels like he's that one step away from potentially being the greatest villain in the series to date. Just that like one little thing that I'm missing that I don't know what is, but I want it.
Is it empathy? Do you think, in regards, we don't
empathy, motivation,
like we don't have
context? I guess just context.
Yeah, because it's just like, okay, so Doflamingo, best villain in my opinion in the story. There were moments where I felt some empathy. I understood the reasoning behind things, why you were on the path that you're on, even though, you know, it's an extreme thing to kill your father for, you know, for what he did. However, he did bring you to this, right? The reason why you're going through this is because of your father.
Your mother died because of your father's actions.
Because of your father's actions.
It's a big twisted story where there are no good guys, essentially.
You know, so... And then it's crazy, and it just shows us how people are, where two people can go through the exact same thing and have a completely different outcome. Like Corazon and Doflamingo, right? Complete opposite ends of the spectrum. He went so far as to call Doflamingo evil, just pure evil. Where there are reasons for the way he is. I think there is definitely some evil in there, but he looks at it as my life was good. I was happy, and then you brought me to a place and people persecuted me.
Took me into poverty and torture and disease and starvation and ruined everything.
I get it. And for him, he tried to go back. They denied him. He's like, okay, fuck you. I'm going to make your life a living hell. And it's even poetic as well, because he went back for Dressrosa, a country that his family owned.
This is my rightful territory.
This is my country. This is what makes Doflamingo the best villain in One Piece. For Kaido, we don't have those same motivations. We still need some more context. Maybe like for Wano, perfect. You know, I have the same exact glasses. It is perfect. It is perfect. For Kaido, we need the same things. We need maybe something like Wano was originally, you know, the country of his ancestors, and they got ran out when, you know, the Void Century or something like that, you know. Oh, Kaido figures. Let me ask you right now.
Yes.
If you had to rank Kaido in regards to One Piece antagonist, where is he for you?
That's so difficult. Right now, I'd say he's at least fourth behind Doflamingo, Katakuri, and Crocodile. But he could very easily become number one like that. It's quite close.
It's not going to take much. It's not going to take much, in my opinion, for him to get there. It's a lot of great things that he does. And it's just on the cusp. Mm-hmm. Of course, I have Dofi up there, Crocodile, Katakuri, and now Kaido. Before we end this, who is the most underrated antagonist in One Piece?
Probably Hody Jones, I would say, just because of the sheer amount of...
I did not expect that one.
It's easy to be underrated when everyone hates you, I think.
True. This is true.
He does represent valuable themes to be explored, I think. That's probably the easy option, I would say, to go with him. For someone
Hody is hated. People hate Hody.
Oh, through and through, as he should be.
Yes.
He's a failure on almost every respect, in my opinion. But he still does do a good job at what he was set up to do.
He is the rage of Fishman. The blind rage.
Yes.
Right? Like, I don't care what it is.
Like the blind zealot rage. He fulfills that role immaculately.
It's interesting because perspective is important with this one, where when I talk to people about it, some people feel like conceptually what was done in regards to Fishman and what they were trying to represent wasn't tackled in the best way through Hody Jones. And it feels like he was almost a martyr. That's what some people say.
Really?
And in regards to every step of the way, because he was such a failure, how can you can't even root for him because he really didn't accomplish anything. It was just blind rage. He wasn't strong enough, wasn't smart enough. Didn't, everything was just failure for him, which, I think people appreciate antagonists or villains when they need some wins, like some small victories in some way. Like for Kaido, he's had quite a few, right? Doflamingo's had his, Crocodile, Katakuri. For Hody, he was like, wait, what am I rooting for here?
Correct. I mean,
I think that's why he gets a lot of hate.
Especially with Katakuri, whose CV was nothing but victories before Luffy showed up.
Yes, right. And some may even say even after Luffy.
Some may even say that. But that's probably like a 2-hour long discussion there, I think.
Oh, absolutely. People say Katakuri. But nah. I think, again, good chapter. A lot of impactful stuff. Can't wait for the next one. No break. Right? So that's great. Something to look forward to here. But Liam, I appreciate you joining me. Any last words on One Piece chapter 1048?
It was good.
Do you rate chapters?
No, I used to, 4 or 5 years ago when I first started doing this. I was like, this chapter I would rate 4 straw hats out of 5 sort of thing. That stopped very quickly.
I did as well. I used to, and then people just kill me for no matter what I rated the chapter, by the way. Unless it was 10 out of 10, they'd be like, what, 9? Well, how could you give this a 9? And they're like, well, 8.5. 8.5? This is at least a 4. Or a best of 4,
It's too objective to assign chapters a number rating, in my opinion.
Right.
If you're going to make me do it on the spot, because of the excitement and the emotion this chapter made me feel, I would say at least an 8, because it accomplished exactly what it set out to do, and it has set me up for something potentially very big coming very shortly. Yes.
Typically how I rate a chapter is like, did I enjoy it or not, right?
So you have a yes/no rating scale.
Right. It's kind of like how much I enjoyed it. I'm like, I really enjoyed it. Oh, I really, really enjoyed this one. It's like, I feel like that better explains how I feel about it, as opposed to, hey, 9 out of 10, 8 out of 10, 7 out of 10.
It's too clinical for something so subjective.
It doesn't yield good results from what I've seen. So, but since you did it, I feel like I'm obligated to now. So I'm going to give this one, on my initial read, I would say 7 out of 10. I think now 7.5.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Yeah, 7.5 out of 10.
I would say on paper, if you just said what happened in this chapter, it doesn't sound very good, because essentially nothing happens. We're still in the exact same spot. But it's all about
fist
that.
Is still there.
Yeah, it's all about emotionally priming you. Essentially, I think is what it's doing.
This is probably one of the more subjective chapters in regards to enjoyment, because it's about how this emotion and everything that happened, how did it impact you as you were reading it, where it's going to hit different for different people. For me, I've reread Wano too many times, and so I've seen a lot of these panels a lot.
Yep, I hear you.
So when you go back to the flashback, even especially the Rio chapter, because I've reread these hockey chapters so much to try to understand these things. It's like, okay, it doesn't have the same, feel for everyone else, but I understand why people would enjoy it, because it does feel like we're approaching that final chapter, that final punch everyone sees Kaido going through. And it's like, it's the dawn, right? And that'll be interesting if, like, once Luffy does his punch, like, the punch goes through and then the clouds, everything just parts, and then it's like
Skypiea
the
sort
sun.
of thing.
Yeah. That's probably what is gonna happen, actually. But
absolutely.
No.
Like, Kaido goes down, that sun is rising 100%. Yeah,
the sun is just going up at the same time. I'm sure it's gonna be. I feel like that's gonna be emotional, right? Where, because you're gonna see just. I think Kinemon and his reaction that's gonna get me. because he's put everything into this, man. He's put everything into it, and you can tell that he cares about this shit. I mean, this is his life, you know. And then Odin dying, how they failed, just the sun shining down on Kinemon, him just crying his hand over his face, like fuck, man. Right? It's like we finally made it here, right? Odin, we did it, right? So I think that's gonna be the moment where I'm like, okay, we finally. I mean, how many years of this?
The exhale.
Yeah, finally. We can finally exhale. The stench of Orochi and Kaido is finally gone, you know, and we can now move forward with our lives. But Liam, I appreciate you joining me. This was amazing.
Thank you so much for inviting me. It was good fun.
Oh, sure. Anytime. Guys, you can find Liam on Twitter. You can find him on YouTube, Grand Line Review, Dude in a Room, New World Review. Where would you say you are most frequently?
Grand Line Review is most frequently.
There you go.
I try to stay off Twitter. It's not good for me.
Yeah, Twitter, there's some things going on there. But guys, appreciate it. Make sure to like the video if you did. Subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Follow me on Twitter, B.D.A. Follow me on Instagram, B.D.A. Thank you to my patrons. Appreciate you guys all so much. Guys, catch you guys in the next one. Peace.
I start doubting me, I felt lost.